like never taking myself seriously. So that for me, ser vulnerable, it's always, I think I can never control it. It's a part of being Latin also, it's like I can't, I'm always like over emotional.
Con los mariachis?
Yes.
Yeah, the music? Like that, yeah.
That's right. So, vulnerability. I think that when you are an artist and you're being not in your house, when you're in any kind of public forum, and especially now with social media, you're vulnerable if you're putting yourself out there. I think that as Latin Americans, I agree with Francisco, we are vulnerable in a particular way. We are vulnerable to all kinds of forces. And I think we get misrepresented and misheard all the time. And don't get me wrong, that what I'm gonna say is what happens, but it is what happens, which is, oh, you must be really hot because you are Latin American or Latina or Hispanic or whatever the fuck, right? And I'm like, well, I am, but not because, not just because I'm Latin American, it's just because I'm hot. There's a difference, people. So the reduction of our identity to one single thing makes us vulnerable, makes us vulnerable to being not well taken care of in our healthcare system, make us vulnerable to lack of housing, make us vulnerable to not getting employment, and make us vulnerable in all sorts of ways that just being queer, and in my case, gender queer, makes it all just compound. When I walk out the door every day, I don't say this to myself, but it is in the back of my mind. I hope I don't get beat up today. And I haven't in all of these years, but it's been a few close calls. And I know that my white privilege really helps, unfortunately. But the moment I open my mouth and people know that I'm Latin American, a whole other conversation, if you can call it that, ensues. And when you're an artist and you have all of that going on, you're a writer, a performer, you are vulnerable because your heart is in it. And it is inevitable that a piece of your history is gonna come through that art, at least a piece of it. And people will zoom in on that. And I have now, a few people have read my first draft of my novel, and everyone has said, oh, there is so much of you in it, and I swear to you that when I was writing it, I was sure I was leaving so much out. I was like, no, don't write that part, and don't write that part either, and don't do that, and don't do this, and it's all there. Because your heart is in it, right? So vulnerability is part of the creative process. It has to be. If we are not vulnerable, then most likely we are not being true to our craft, right?